Commander Elias Hale stepped out of the shuttle and onto the bright silver platform of the Erythian orbital citadel. The air smelled clean, almost too clean, and everything in sight looked like it had been polished only a few seconds ago. The Erythians valued cleanliness, order, and absolute control over their environment. They valued those things so much that they removed emotions from their own biology generations ago. To them, emotions were a disease, a flaw, a weakness that could ruin a perfect society. Hale understood none of that made the Erythians evil. But he also understood that walking among a species with zero emotional expression felt strange. Their faces never changed. Their voices never rose or fell. Their eyes never widened in surprise or narrowed with suspicion. They simply were. Calm, cold, logical. Still. Hale had come with the hope that the first human-Erythian research exchange would open a new chapter between their two people. And waiting for him at the end of the platform was the one Erythian he had been told to work with, scientist Lyra. She stood perfectly still, arms folded behind her back, eyes bright silver like polished metal. Her skin seemed as smooth as glass, her movements precise and balanced. Her hair, if it could even be called hair, flowed in thin, shimmering strands like threads of energy. "Hale," she said in a steady, plain voice. "Welcome to the Erythian Primary Research Citadel. Follow me." She did not wait to see if he followed. Erythians never wasted time on such things. Hale hoisted his small equipment case and walked after her. "Nice to meet you, too," he said with a friendly smile. Lyra did not respond. The deeper they went into the citadel, the more Hale felt like he was walking inside an enormous living computer. Walls glowed faint blue with embedded power channels. Floors hummed quietly. Doors opened the moment Lyra approached, as if sensing her identity before she reached them. No guards, no visible weapons, no signs of fear. Erythians believed that structure prevented all chaos. After several minutes, they reached a large chamber filled with floating screens and curved machines made of transparent alloy. "This is the Neural Resonance Laboratory," Lyra explained. "Our task is to observe the effects of human emotional signatures on Erythian neural patterns." Hale frowned. "You mean you want to see what emotions do to your brain?" "Correct," she said. "The Council is curious why humans rely on emotions despite their inefficiency." Hale shrugged. "I guess because emotions are part of being alive?" Lyra blinked once, an Erythian gesture of mild confusion. "Life does not require emotion. Efficiency does." Hale smiled. "We'll see." He placed his case on a table and began unpacking small human-made resonance sensors, simple, non-invasive devices that could measure certain brainwave reactions. As he worked, he noticed Lyra watching him carefully. Not suspiciously. Erythians didn't feel suspicion, but with clinical interest. "You handle your tools with unnecessary smoothness," she said. Hale paused. "Unnecessary?" "Yes. Your fingers move slower when you do not need precision. That is an emotional habit, perhaps comfort-seeking." Hale laughed. "Well, yeah. Humans like being comfortable." "Comfort is inefficient," she replied. He chuckled again, not to tease her, but because her bluntness felt strangely refreshing. Lyra tilted her head slightly. "You are responding with humor." "Correct." "What purpose does humor serve?" "It makes life easier," he answered. "Lighter, more enjoyable." She blinked again. "Enjoyable," she repeated, as if testing the sound of the word. They set up the machines. Hale stood on one side of the room, Lyra on the other. A shimmering field activated between them, a web of light that read their neural signals and translated them into harmless resonance patterns. "You may begin speaking," Lyra said. "The equipment will analyze your emotional fluctuations." "All right." Hale cleared his throat. "How about we start with something simple? What do you want to know about humans? I do not want anything. Wanting is an emotional state, he sighed. Okay, what do you need to know about humans? Erythians wish to understand why humans continue to allow unpredictable emotional influence in decision-making. We wish to understand if this influence is contagious. Contagious? Hale raised an eyebrow. You think emotions can spread like a sickness? They spread through societies and often lead to conflict. Therefore, yes. Well, emotions can cause trouble, Hale admitted. But they also give people courage. They make them care about each other. They push us to do things we would never do if we only thought with logic. Such as? Exploring new worlds, avoiding wars instead of starting them, helping strangers. Hale paused. Making friends. Lyra stared at him, but her expression did not change. The resonance field, however, pulsed softly. Your voice shifted, she observed. Yeah, he replied. Humans change their voice based on emotion. Why? It helps show meaning. Lyra silently processed this for a long moment. Then she said, Erythians eliminated such fluctuations long ago. Maybe too long ago, Hale said. The moment he said it, he regretted it. He didn't want to insult her entire species on the first day. But instead of reacting with anger, which Erythians lacked, Lyra simply stepped closer to the resonance field. Explain, she said. Hale swallowed. Well, maybe your people lost something important when they removed emotion. Something human. The resonance field suddenly flared bright, a brief flash of gold. Lyra staggered. Hale immediately stepped forward. Lyra, are you all right? She pressed a hand against her chest. My pulse core is accelerating. This should not be possible. She lifted her eyes to him, and for the first time, Hale felt something in them that looked almost like uncertainty. What did you do? Nothing! Hale held his hands up. I didn't touch anything. Her breathing quickened. Erythians normally had slow, steady breaths, controlled and even. But now, Lyra looked like someone trying to keep calm during a storm. This sensation, it is not logical, she whispered. It is not allowed. What sensation? Hale asked. An impulse, she said. A strong, irrational impulse to remain near you. Hale blinked, shocked. Near me? Why? I do not know. Her voice rose slightly, an Erythian equivalent of shouting. But it is happening, and it is your fault. He stepped back in alarm. My fault? Lyra, I didn't do anything. The resonance field dimmed, but Lyra still looked shaken. She touched her chest again, as if trying to calm her pulse core. Hale moved slowly, careful not to scare her. Lyra, listen. Maybe this isn't bad. Maybe this is just a reaction to something new, something your body doesn't understand yet. No Erythian has ever experienced this, she said. Ever. That doesn't mean it's dangerous. Her eyes narrowed, not with anger, but with intense analysis. Human presence may be altering my neural pathways. Or, Hale suggested gently, maybe your species is changing on its own, and I was just the first person around when it happened. She shook her head sharply. If the council discovers this, they will quarantine me. Disassemble me, perhaps. They cannot allow emotional instability. Hale felt a cold weight settle in his stomach. Disassemble, you mean? Yes, she said simply. Erythians remove anything that threatens order. Silence filled the room. For the first time since Hale had arrived, Lyra looked less like a perfect, emotionless being and more like someone standing on the edge of something huge and unpredictable. What do we do now? He asked quietly. Lyra straightened her back, forcing her expression into its usual neutral calm. But her voice trembled just slightly when she spoke. You will help me hide this, she said. You must, because if I truly am the first Erythian to experience this, Impulse? Then my existence changes everything for my people, and I will not allow them to erase me. Hale nodded slowly. All right. I'll help. Lyra looked at him again. That strange new reaction sparked in her eyes. Something close to curiosity, fear, and something she could not yet name. Good, she said. Then our research begins now. But Hale had the uneasy feeling that the research had already begun the moment she first stepped near him. And something in the Arithian world had just shifted forever. For the next several days, Commander Hale stayed on the Arithian citadel under a quiet tension. Every hour felt like walking on thin ice. He had to act calm, move normal, and pretend nothing unusual had happened during the neural resonance test. But Lyra was changing, not in a dramatic, cinematic way, not in a way any other Irithian would notice at first glance, but Hale saw it. She blinked just a little more often. Her breathing wasn't always even. Her hands sometimes tightened for a second when she was thinking, small signs, tiny clues, like sparks under a metal surface that could grow into a fire. And Lyra knew it too. On the morning of the fourth day, she entered the lab with a stiff posture, her face carefully blank. We have a problem, she said. Hale put down the scanner he was fixing. What kind of problem? Counselor Varen has requested a complete review of our neural resonance data. He believes humans may have hidden emotional effects that could contaminate Erithian minds. Hale winced. Does he suspect you? No, she said. Not yet. But the Council does not make random requests. Something has made them suspicious. He stepped closer. Do you think they sensed your new reaction? Lyra shook her head slowly. Irithian monitoring systems watch for emotional spikes, but I have been careful. My reaction only grows when you are close, and I avoid being near you outside the lab. Hale raised an eyebrow. You say that like you're talking about a dangerous chemical. It is dangerous, she replied. You do not understand what would happen if the Council learns an Erithian has developed emotion. They would remove the trait before it spreads. But it's not a disease, Hale insisted. For them, it does not matter what it is, Lyra said. Only that it threatens order. Later that day, Lyra sent him a private message, something no Irithian ever did unless absolutely necessary. Come to Sector 7. Quietly. Hale's heart jumped. Lyra never sounded urgent, never quick, never anything. He followed her instructions and walked through the silent metallic corridors until he reached a small analysis chamber, hidden away from main pathways. Lyra stood waiting for him, a faint glow behind her from the room's screens. We must run our own test, she said. Hale frowned. Another resonance test? No, she replied. This time we test me. He felt a knot tighten in his stomach. Lyra, is that safe? Nothing about my situation is safe, she said, her voice flat but her eyes intense. I need to know if my reaction is stable or if it is evolving. He nodded, stepping up beside her. All right. What do you need me to do? Stand there, she pointed to a marked circle, and speak. About what? Anything. So he talked. He talked about Earth, about oceans and storms, sports and late-night city noise, family gatherings, laughter, the way people forget their problems when they watch sunsets. He spoke about human feelings, memories, and the messy, chaotic beauty of life. While Hale spoke, Lyra stood perfectly still, her silver eyes fixed on him. For a while, she seemed calm, smooth, controlled. Then the machine behind her beeped. Lyra inhaled sharply. My pulse core is increasing again. Hale stepped forward. Lyra, stop, she said, but her voice trembled. The machine continued pinging, showing a steady rise in neural activity, emotional signals blooming like sudden bright stars. This is stronger than before, she whispered. "It is happening faster." Hale felt a chill run through him. Okay. Slow breathing. Try grounding yourself." "I am grounded," she said, but it sounded less like fact and more like hope. Her hands clenched. Her eyes widened, just enough for Hale to see she was fighting against something powerful inside herself. "Lyra, listen to me," Hale said gently. "What you're feeling doesn't have to be dangerous. It's new. New things are scary, but that doesn't make them wrong." Her eyes flicked to him. "Why does your voice do that?" "Do what?" "Change. It becomes softer, warmer. It makes my reaction worse." He almost laughed, but he held it back. "Sorry. That's just what humans do when they want to calm someone." "I do not want to be calmed," she said. "I want to understand." The machine beeped even louder. Then Lyra suddenly deactivated it with a single commanding gesture. The room fell silent except for her unsteady breathing. "That is enough," she said. "The Council must not see this data." "Then we erase it," Hale replied. But Lyra shook her head. "No, the data is not recorded there." "Then where?" "Here," she said, pressing a hand lightly against her temple. "In me. The changes are permanent." Hale felt overwhelmed. "Lyra, you're evolving." She looked at him, and this time she did not hide the emotion in her voice. Fear. "Evolving into what?" They spent the next few days pretending everything was normal, but the tension across the citadel grew thick. Counselor Varen began appearing in sectors he never visited. Monitoring drones scanned every hallway. Erythian scientists whispered, quietly, carefully, about the humans. One night, as Hale tried to sleep in his assigned room, an alarm blared softly. A pale blue light pulsed across the walls. He jumped to his feet. A message flashed on his console. "Commander Hale, Council summons you. Report to core chamber immediately." His stomach dropped. By the time he reached the core chamber, dozens of Irithians were already gathered. Lyra stood among them, her posture painfully rigid. Counselor Varen watched Hale with cold, analytical eyes. "Commander Hale," Varen said, "you stand accused of introducing uncontrolled neural disruption into Irithian research environments." "What?" Hale stepped back. "I didn't—" "Your presence has caused instability," Varen continued. "We have detected irregular emotional activity within the Citadel. This is unacceptable." Hale's heart pounded. "Irithians don't even have emotions." "That is the expected function," Varen said. "Yet destabilizing signals have been traced to this area. They intensified during your time here. You must explain this." Hale looked toward Lyra, silently asking for help. But Lyra's eyes were fixed on the ground. Her hands were behind her back, but he recognized the faint tremor in one of them. She was afraid. Hale stepped forward. "Counselor, if something unusual is happening, it isn't caused by me. Humans don't have the power to—" "Silence," Varen said. Two guards stepped closer. Hale's pulse raced. He wasn't under attack yet, but the wrong words could turn this into an international disaster. And then, unexpectedly, Lyra spoke. "Counselor Varen." Her voice was calm, but there was something sharp beneath it. "You assume the emotional signals come from humans simply because they display emotions openly. That is flawed logic." A ripple of surprise moved through the chamber. Irithians rarely challenged counselors. Varen turned to her slowly. "Explain." "Humans cannot infect Irithians with emotions," Lyra said. "Our biology prevents such influence. Therefore, the emotional signal must have another source." A dangerous silence filled the chamber. Varen stepped closer. "Perhaps. But what source, Lyra?" Lyra hesitated. For a moment, Hale thought she would expose herself to save him. But she didn't. Instead, she stepped aside and bowed her head. I suggest the Council expand its search. I will assist. Varen stared at her for a long moment, then nodded. Very well. Commander Hale is dismissed. For now. Guards lowered their arms. Erythians turned away. The crowd dispersed. Hale exhaled in relief. As he walked out of the chamber, Lyra appeared beside him from a side corridor. Her expression remained neutral, but her voice shook. They are getting too close, she said. You protected me, Hale whispered. I protected both of us, she corrected. If they discover the truth, it will not just be you in danger. I will be erased, and every Irithian who suspects the truth will support it. So what do we do now? Hale asked. Lyra looked down the corridor, then back at him. We do something Irithians never do, she said softly. What's that? We form a secret plan. Hale almost smiled. Now you're starting to sound human. Lyra didn't smile. Yet there was something new in her eyes. Something like determination mixed with fear and curiosity. The Council believes emotions make a person unstable, she said. I will prove them wrong. How? Hale asked. By learning to control this reaction, she replied. By mastering it. By understanding what it means. He nodded. Together. Yes, she said. Together. For the first time, an Irithian and a human were no longer just researchers. They were allies against an entire society's beliefs. And the emotion war had only just begun. The Irithian citadel felt different now, like a giant machine beginning to shake from deep inside. Hidden alarms, silent investigations, and strict new monitoring rules spread through every sector. The Council searched for the source of the unexplained emotional signals. They didn't know the truth yet, but they felt the danger closing in. And Lyra felt it too. The unusual reaction inside her had not faded. It had grown stronger, sometimes quiet, sometimes sharp, like a spark waiting to ignite. She had learned to hide it well, controlling her breathing and movements, but Hale could see the tension behind her silver eyes. Every step she took now carried risk. Every breath she took felt like a rebellion. One evening, Lyra summoned Hale to one of the outer sectors, an unfinished research wing where most lights were still dim and machines lay in silent rows. He entered carefully. Lyra? Why here? This place has no surveillance yet, she said, stepping from the shadows. We can speak freely. Her face was calm, but her voice carried urgency. Hale approached her slowly. What's wrong? Lyra didn't answer right away. Instead, she activated a small projector. A map of the citadel appeared, glowing blue. The Council has traced most emotional signals to this region, she said, pointing to the lab where Hale had first arrived. They are narrowing the search. If they look deeper, they will find me. Hale's stomach tightened. Then we have to leave. Both of us. No, Lyra said firmly. Running would confirm suspicion. They would assume I am corrupted, and they would blame humans again. Then what option do we have? Lyra turned toward him, her eyes bright and steady. We show them the truth. Hale frowned. The truth, Lyra? The truth gets you erased. Not if the entire citadel sees it, she said. Not if I speak before they silence me. He shook his head. You're risking everything. So are you, she replied. Yet you agree with me anyway. He opened his mouth to argue, but the look in her eyes stopped him. For the first time, her expression carried something he could recognize, a mixture of resolve, fear, and hope. She was no longer hiding her emotional change. Hale took a deep breath. All right, what's the plan? Lyra turned back to the map, her tone sharp and clear. We use the central broadcast system. If I reveal myself to the Council in private, they erase me. But if every Irithian on the Citadel sees what I have become, they cannot remove the truth. You want to show them emotion openly, Hale realized. Yes, she said. I will show them that emotion is not chaos, it is not destruction, it is clarity and strength, and I am still Irithian. Hale nodded slowly. Okay, but how do we reach the broadcast? Lyra pressed a button, showing a path through the citadel. We move through the maintenance network. The Council avoids it because it is inefficient for travel. You will help me reach the central console. And after that? Hale asked. After that, she said quietly, the Irithians will see the first emotional Irithian in thousands of cycles. They moved through dim corridors and narrow tunnels, staying out of sight. Hale followed Lyra closely as she guided him through the quiet parts of the citadel. But every few turns, Lyra paused with a hand on the wall, breathing slowly. The reaction was hitting her again. Hale touched her shoulder gently. Are you okay? Lyra nodded but didn't speak. She pressed her hand against her chest as if calming her pulse core. Do you want to stop? Hale asked. No, she said quickly, too quickly. Stopping will make it worse. Movement helps me control it. He didn't fully understand, but he trusted her. After several minutes, she regained control and continued forward. They finally reached the central access shaft, an enormous chamber with glowing platforms rising and lowering in perfect silence. At the top of the chamber was the main broadcast center, but standing below it were two Irithian guards. Lyra's face remained calm. We cannot avoid them. Then what do we do? Hale whispered. I will speak to them, Lyra said. Hale grabbed her arm gently. Lyra, if they sense anything, then I must give them nothing to sense, she replied. She stepped forward. The guards looked up immediately. Scientist Lyra, one of them said. Why are you here? I am escorting the human to a secure analysis session, she answered smoothly. Counselor Varen requested the final data review. Unscheduled, the guard remarked. His order, Lyra said. You may confirm it if you wish. The guards exchanged a glance. One lifted a hand and activated a small panel. Lyra whispered to Hale, Stay calm. After a tense moment, the guard lowered his hand. Order confirmed. Proceed. Hale blinked at her. Lyra had hacked the communications network in advance. She had expected this. She was thinking ahead. She was adapting. She was becoming something new. They rode a silent platform up to the broadcast deck. The doors slid open into a wide circular room filled with shimmering screens. Every part of Irithian communication passed through here. Lyra stepped toward the central console. Once I activate the override, every Irithian will see and hear everything happening in this room. There is no turning back. Hale nodded. Then let's do it. She placed her hand on the console, and glowing threads crawled up her arm as the system recognized her identity. Lyra, Hale said quietly, you don't have to do this alone. She looked at him, not with cold Irithian eyes, but with something warm. Alive. I am not alone, she said. She pressed the final command. A deep hum filled the air. Hundreds of screens lit up. In that moment, the broadcast reached every Irithian on the citadel, and Lyra stepped into the center of the room. People of the Irithian citadel, she began, her voice projected everywhere, I must show you something the council fears. Across the citadel, Irithians stopped walking, stopped working, stopped speaking. Their eyes turned to the screens. Lyra lifted her chin. My name is Lyra. I am an Irithian scientist, and I have developed something our people believed impossible. The room grew silent. I have developed emotion. Shock rippled through the watching Irithians. Some stepped back. Some leaned forward. Some froze completely. Lyra continued, her voice strong. We were taught that emotions destroy order, that they make a mind weak, that they must never exist. But I am still me. I am not unstable. I am not chaotic. I am still Irithian. But I am more. I think faster. I see deeper. I understand connections I could not before. She looked toward Hale. I understand humans now. Not because I copied them, but because I evolved. Counselor Varen stormed into the room, guards behind him. Lyra, he shouted. Stop this immediately. She turned calmly toward him. The broadcast is already active. They are all watching. Varen stepped forward angrily. You are dangerous. This reaction inside you will spread disorder. You must be contained and removed. Hale stepped between them. She's not dangerous. She's proof that Erythians can grow. Silence, human, Varen snapped. But Lyra raised her hand. No. He is correct. The screens showed her face clearly, the slight tremble in her breath, the honest fear, the courage she carried despite it. Erythians, she said, you fear emotion because you cannot control it. But I can. I am controlling it now, and I choose not fear, but understanding. Varen reached for the console. This ends now, he said. But the guards watching the broadcast throughout the citadel hesitated. Erythians in every sector stood frozen, uncertain. They were seeing something no one had seen in generations, an Erythian expressing emotion without collapsing. Hope began moving like a quiet wave. Varen pressed the emergency command. Nothing happened. He tried again. Still nothing. Lyra spoke softly. I disabled your overrides an hour ago. Varen stared at her in shock. You are not the future, she said. You are the past. The guards stepped forward, not to arrest Lyra, but to stand between her and Varen. The chamber filled with a new silence, a turning point in Erythian history. Finally, Lyra turned back to the broadcast. My people. I do not ask you to accept this instantly. I ask only that you see me, that you listen, that you understand we are more than machines, more than logic. We are living beings, and we can change. She ended the broadcast. The screens faded slowly. Hale exhaled. Lyra, you did it. Lyra looked at him with calm eyes, but this time there was unmistakable warmth inside them. No, she said quietly. We did it. Outside, the citadel filled with a strange, quiet energy. Erythians whispered to each other. They debated. They wondered. They questioned everything they had been told. Lyra was the first of a new age, a bridge between logic and emotion, a symbol of evolution, and Hale knew that this moment, this simple act of truth, had changed an entire civilization forever.